everybody loves Kay Adams, and I can't say that I'm not a part of the group that loves Kay Adams. What's not to love about Kay Adams? Cute girl. But she basically all week has been the hostess for Super Bowl week. Every time I open up my Twitter account, my X account, I'm getting a clip from Kay Adams and some interview she's done with somebody, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? What happened to Chris Berman? What happened to Brent Musburger? What happened to men that actually, what happened to Jim Rome? What happened to just men on sports? But everywhere we turn, there's an Instagram model holding a microphone, talking to an athlete, and then the athletes get so comfortable, and the men get so comfortable, it's like, hey, man, I'm talking to a hot woman. She don't know a damn thing about football. I can say whatever the hell I want. And so Kay Adams interviewing Emmitt Smith, one of the greatest running backs of all time, the all-time rushing leader in the NFL, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Emmitt Smith goes on a diatribe about Shedeur Sanders, and Kay Adams starts talking about, oh, she's got chills and she's got goose-bumps, and she just said damn near everything, but hey, I'm halfway moist listening to Emmitt Smith. Let's play the clip.
I guess coaches want to make sure that guys know that there is no security in their position, and they want them to be as competitive and compete for the job. No one wants to hand anything to them. This is the way that they're treating Shedeur. But they handed it to Drake May.
Yes, they did.
They handed it to kid out in San Diego. They also handed it to the kid in Jacksonville. They also handed it to Sam Darnold. They also handed it to other players. So, and what does Cleveland have? Absolutely nothing. So what's the debate? Are you going to give it to Dylan again? I mean, when you have players, see, the one thing about players.
You just gave me goosebumps, Emmitt.
One thing about players, they know who their captains are, and they know who their leaders are, and they know who they can believe and who they trust in. It's the organization.
Can we pause?
It's the coaches.
Can we pause?
They have to get it right.
When and I'm sorry, and I'm apologizing for this, but I do have to keep it real here. You just gave me goosebumps, Emmitt. I mean, that's, you know, I've heard that before, and usually there's not a microphone involved. When a man and a woman start talking about giving each other goosebumps or curling each other's toes or whatever, that's not. There's usually not a microphone involved. And I'm telling you, I like Kay Adams. I'm like everybody else. Who doesn't like an attractive woman, you know, in a microphone? But do you think Emmitt would be saying these things as cavalierly? Because this is a conversation about Shedeur and just how great Shedeur is. You think he would be saying this as casually and cavalierly if he were talking to a man who might say, like, hold on, Emmitt. When you just rattled off all these white quarterbacks that got named the starters who were actually high first-round draft picks, and they get handed a job based on contract, based on, hey, man, we just spent a lot of draft capital to get you. Shedeur Sanders is a fifth-round pick that threw like 10 interceptions, 7 TDs, had some fumbles, mishandles himself in the media constantly, and the Todd Monken is supposed to just hand him the job, because that is where this conversation started, is that Todd Monken said that, you know, he's not sure who their quarterback is going to be, and Emmitt is now explaining how, well, why wouldn't he say it's Shedeur? They do it for Justin Herbert, they do it for Drake May, they do it for this laundry list of white quarterbacks. And I'm like, hey, man, I live here in Nashville. Cam Ward was handed the starting job here with the Tennessee Titans. This is commonplace. Black quarterbacks at the top of the draft. C.J. Stroud starting quarterback with the Houston Texans. The list goes on. Jaden Daniels. It's not a white-black thing. But Emmitt can say these things, and it will give Kay Adams goosebumps, where if there was a man that actually knew football, would be like, hey, man, you knew football and had a pair. Someone would say, like, hey, man, you don't rattle off a bunch of white quarterbacks. They do the same for black quarterbacks. And Shedeur is a 5th-round pick. And what he did this season wasn't that impressive. He was a turnover machine. He still holds the ball way too long. Someone would have said, like, hey, Emmitt, I know you and Dion are boys, but, are you sure? But, again, we've created a soft world, a soft sports world. We've created a world where resistance is eliminated. Everything is a game of 7-on-7. There's no contact. There's no pads. And you have all these big former masculine jocks who only consent to interviews where there will be no pushback, no resistance. You can just say anything. And someone needed to push back on Emmitt Smith, but that's not what we do in this softened, feminized version of football. And so I want to continue, like the NFL awards show, it's a distraction. It's been feminized. Obviously, the halftime show with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is the biggest star of this Super Bowl. That's a problem. Bad Bunny is a Puerto Rican rapper who hates America to some degree, certainly hates Donald Trump, doesn't do songs in English, and he is the biggest storyline, Puerto Rican, Spanish gangster rapper, cross-dresser. He's the biggest storyline for the Super Bowl. His performance at the Super Bowl is more important, more anticipated than the actual game. Why is that? How did we get here? How did we turn the Super Bowl into a platform for anti-Donald Trump people, anti-ICE people, the LGBTQIA plus silent P, and the P stands for pedophilia, for those that don't get the joke, that crowd? How did the Super Bowl get turned into a feminist platform for girl power? How did the Super Bowl get here? Because this has not always been the case. And